This episode is sponsored by MyDoma Studio. MyDoma Studio is your complete designer toolkit. MyDoma makes it easy to streamline your processes, track projects, communicate with clients, and get everything organized. It's created by designers for designers, and it specifically addresses what you need as a business owner in this very complex industry. I've said countless times that systems and processes are how you reach the next level of profitability and peace of mind. MyDoma Studio makes it easy to do that. You can get 20% off your first 3 months by going to mydomastudio.com/a well-designed business. Welcome to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. It's Power Talk Friday. If you are listening in real time, July 2024, then you might be aware that exactly in 1 week, we will be hitting a huge milestone here on A Well-Designed Business podcast. And that is on July 12th, we will air our 1,000th episode. Can you believe it? I hardly can believe it. If you follow me on Instagram, then I'm sure you've come across at least one of our recap videos where we have been going all the way back to year 2016, and we found out what were the top 5 episodes listened to of each year. And now we are just a week away from the 1,000th episode. So, and if you don't know it, we are doing a giveaway to celebrate this. I'm going to go live on July 17th on Instagram. And you have the opportunity to win one of 2 prizes, $1,000 toward any Power Talk Friday event in 2024 or $1,000 toward any LuAnn University course in 2025. And the only thing you have to do to be entered to win is to be on my email list. So if you are on my email list, then yay you, thank you, and just sit back and wait and see if you win. And if you want, join me on Instagram on Wednesday, July 17th. I have no idea what time it is right now on Wednesday, but I'm sure we'll be posting it. Okay. Now, if you're not on the email list and you're thinking, I want in, then go to luannigara.com/email. All right. And that link will also be in the show notes. All right. Today, we are diving into the world of product development with Bryan Short of the Sewing Loft of Avon. The Sewing Loft of Avon specializes in fabricating custom soft furnishings such as window treatments, indoor-outdoor cushions, pillows, and slipcovers. Their primary clients are you, interior designers. As a co-owner, Bryan wears many hats, but he concentrates on prepping projects for fabrication, marketing, client acquisition and retention, customer service, and long-term vision planning. In addition to his work at the Sewing Loft of Avon, Bryan is also the current Connecticut chapter of the Interior Design Society. You know IDS. I love IDS. This is a national organization dedicated to education and the business development of you, the members of the Interior Design Society across the country. Recently, Bryan and his wife, Rachel, have launched SLA Express, a semi-custom drapery line designed exclusively for you, the interior designer, and he's here to talk about it. Bryan is a friend of mine. He's also been on the Window Treatments for Profit podcast, which we will link in the show notes in case after you listen to him today, you can't get enough and you want to know more about Bryan. So whether you're in the window treatment industry or an interior designer, Bryan is here today to share tons of knowledge on how to successfully bring a new product to market. All right, let's get to Bryan. Hey, Bryan, thanks so much for joining me on A Well Designed Business today.
Hi, LuAnn. It is great being here, and it's wonderful to talk to you again. It really is.
I know. So, when we say again, so we've met each other many times in real life at this point over the years. You are on the Window Treatment for Profit podcast, talking with my window treatment colleagues about best practices for attracting interior designers to your window treatment business. So that's a fun conversation, and I will put a link to that in the show notes. Today, though, Bri, you and your wife, Rachel, have launched a new revenue stream, a new business lane for your custom window treatment workroom in Connecticut called SLA Express. And I'm loving this idea, Brian. I'm loving this idea, Brian. So tell us about SLA Express, and then we're going to pick apart some business lessons that you have learned and want to share from developing this new product line for you guys.
All right, great. Thank you so much. First of all, yes, we have met many times in real life, and it's always been a pleasure. I think the last time was when you were in Connecticut
Yeah.
at Schwartz Design Showroom,
That's
and
right,
that
that's
was
right,
that
for
was just
the
that was
what do they
wonderful.
call it? Design District Day or
Yeah,
something?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So that was
Yeah, that
really
was fun.
That was a lot of fun. So, yes, so we have a new online product called SLA Express. For those who don't know, the SLA stands for the Sewing Loft of Avon, which is our name. And we are a full custom drapery workroom. And we do a full spectrum of custom work. Um, but we wanted to provide a semi-custom drapery line that is easily ordered, so it's all online. It is competitively priced. It is also with a great turnaround time of 3 weeks. And it is also, and I think this is very important, it is exclusive to the trade. And we can get into why we decided to make this exclusive to the trade. But the details of which is it is 7 fabrics. We have 2 widths of draperies, and it's only draperies right now.
Okay.
So it's a 1.5 width and a 2 width drapery. Two pleat styles, your standard pinch pleat and Euro or top tack pleat. And we have 5 lengths, 86, 90, 94, 98, and 102. If
Lengths
you
that actually fit windows.
exactly,
That's
that's
so
right.
crazy, Brian. That's so crazy.
I know. And that was one of the big complaints when we talked about this to
Oh,
designers
gosh.
doing our market research.
Yeah.
Was what about length? They're like, please do not do the
I'll
standard
do
84,
84,
96.
96.
It helps nobody.
It's so
Please do something that we can
crazy.
actually
Do
use.
you know, I have been complaining about that, I think probably since you were in middle school. I swear to God. I would be like, I do not understand it. 98% of all the windows, the molding to the floor is 84, but 100% of all the drapes that you can order in a package or used to have to go into the store and buy are 84. Like,
Right,
so it's
right.
immediately as soon as you put it on a rod, it is 2.5 inches short off the
E-
floor.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
then the 96, right? Like 80% of the houses have 8 foot ceilings. So that 96, as soon as you put it on a rod, is sitting on the floor by 2.5 inches. Like
Right,
it's
right,
so brutal.
right. And then if you're a designer, if you then wanted to, actually look right, then you got to pay someone
Yes. To
to
cut
lengthen
it,
it
to
or
hem
cut it
it.
or hem it, and then you've lost all the
Yeah, you
all the
may as well
money
order
that
custom.
that's right.
Oh my God. So I love that. I love that. Okay. So here's the thing, Brian. You are a custom drapery workroom. Now you do hard treatments, right? So you do also,
Correct.
when we say custom, your custom window treatment workroom. So all anything for a window, like I used to say at
Right.
Window Works. If it goes on a window, sweetie, we can make it for you. All right.
Right.
So, but it's hard treatments and soft treatments. Your business is mostly at this point to the trade. There are
Right.
some retail accounts. Now, WindowWorks is more 50-50 trade to retail. So no shade on when you've got retail. I know it can work and the designers get fully serviced. There's
Right.
no love lost. There's no services lost. But you are mostly trade.
Yes.
And so bringing this out, like, what's going on here? Like, because hey, you could buy this $3,000 custom made drapery from me, or hey, you could do this over here for $300. Like, what's the thinking, Bryan?
So the thinking really stems from years of listening to our trade clients.
Love it.
So on many occasions, when I talk to a designer, one of their chief complaints or one of the issues that they would have when it comes to custom window treatments is a lot of times that gets priced out last or that gets paid for last. And by that point, budgets are low. Or now, they're on to the kids' rooms or the guest rooms, and the client just doesn't want to pay for a custom window treatment. So when those budgets start to shrink, the first thing that goes are the window treatments. And the homeowner typically just wants something on the window.
Yeah.
They understand like bedding, they understand, the color on the wall or the case goods. Window treatments, just put something on the window. So
Yeah.
then the designer is stuck with a client who goes to a box store, buys something pre-packaged. As you said, it's never going to fit. It's not going to look as good. And their chief complaint was, I've just designed this beautiful room, and
Mm,
now I don't know if I can photograph it.
okay.
Because if I do, or I only can photograph a certain part of it, because I've got this big mass over the window
Yeah.
and it doesn't go with their design. And it's, that last jewel that they want on it. So for the designers would say, if we could just have something that was the same quality as custom, but somehow was a competitive price point, that when my clients get when their budgets are lower, I can sell this to them, and then they can use it. Their room looks good, and our room looks good. Their design looks good. So that's what put the bug in my ear.
I love it.
And so, but first, we have our own business, so we've got to figure out, all right, what's the timing? When can we start this, venture to try to, put together this new line of products? So timing was a big issue as well.
Remind me, how long are you and Rachel in business? I don't remember.
We started in July of 2010.
Okay, okay. So you're
So
14 years in it at this
14
point.
years,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay. So I just want to recap that here. So the thinking for an interior designer listening is not that either you or I, as custom window treatment professionals, are suggesting that for 3/4 of their luxury client projects, that this is what you really think they should be doing in the major areas, the living areas, the primary bedrooms,
Right.
the family room, all of that stuff. Not that it can't. It's beautiful and it could. I've seen it. I've looked at it. I know, and I know your quality. I know it could. But that's not the driving thing. This is more, you've got a whole house project or a whole floor project, or you've done the major rooms and they say spruce up the guest room, spruce up the kids' room, or whatever, and they're just not going to even consider custom for these
Right.
rooms. It's not even on the table. I know exactly what you're talking about. Been there, done that, both with the designers and the retail consumer, where it's like, yeah, we just blew the $40,000 budget on the downstairs window treatments and our bedroom. Like the kids, yeah, let's go to Costco.
Right. Right.
Right?
Exactly. It's especially if it's like the kids' room. The kids are going to grow up. As they grow up, their tastes are going to
Changing the
change. So
decor.
why do I want to spend, like you said, 10, 20, $30,000 for, window treatments that will look beautiful, but in
Yeah.
3 years they're
He
gonna
doesn't want
hate it.
Spider-Man anymore, and now he wants, Chevron or whatever, right? Yeah,
Exactly. And so
yeah.
the idea was to the designer is still, when it comes to the guest room, they're still going to put their heart and soul into
Yes.
it within the budget that the client is giving them at that point. So it's not like it's a throwaway room for them.
Right.
So we wanted to provide window treatments that could fit in that budget, and the designer can still be proud of,
Yeah.
can still take a photograph of, and feel confident that when their homeowners, friends, and family come over,
Yeah.
and see that guest room.
They don't have to put a sign, "I didn't do the drapes."
Exactly.
Designed
Exactly.
by Sally Smith, except the drapes.
Except for the drapes.
So, you know what's interesting? What I love about this is every designer listening to us can grasp the concept that, for example, you just said their heart and soul still goes into a guest bedroom or lesser prominent room in the home. But so it's just like if in the dining room, we're going to have a $6,000 chandelier and everybody gets it because it's the focal point and the table is a $20,000 table. Now we come to the study and maybe the chandelier is $700, right? We didn't go to Home Depot for a $50 chandelier, right? And so it's that exact thing. So maybe the sofa in the living room is a $40,000 one. The sofa in the study is a $10,000 one, but we didn't go to Bob's Big Boy on the highway and get a $600 one because there is a way bigger difference in quality from that entry level box store, drapery, lighting fixture, all of the things to even the entry level custom, right? The entry level designer trade quality, then the room can, it's like that high low design, right? It's like you
Right.
can put these different things in. So I think that when a designer understands that they're already making very tactical budget decisions when they go into some of these other spaces, that this is just one more
Right.
tactical budget decision. Because to be clear, we're not saying that this line, this SLA Express, is the same price as going
Right.
to online Pottery Barn, West Elm, wherever it
Correct.
is. It's still, it's like instead of having the $60 chandelier from Home Depot and now having this $700 one from, I don't know where the lighting places are. If I mention one, I'm going to be in trouble. I'm sure of it. I have no idea. Okay. But it's that. It's like you're getting more, the price is more. It's not the same as custom. The price is not the same as custom. And the thing is, that's the other thing, Bryan. You're sewing these in your custom drapery workroom, so the
Correct.
quality of the workmanship actually is still on par.
Correct. And that was
Interesting.
right. And that was
Interesting.
very important to us when we decided that we were going to exclusively bring this to interior designers.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of goes back to knowing your market. Like when you're deciding on what product to launch or what new revenue stream to come out with, the first and most important thing is to figure out who am I selling this to and who is going to care enough about it. It's very easy to say, "Oh, I want to sell this to everybody. Anyone who has a window, is going to want this." Well, not necessarily. Um, so you have your large group, anyone that wants something on their windows or anyone that wants lighting. But then you have to kind of start niching down, like whose problem am I trying to solve? Who will understand
Mhm.
what I'm trying to do? And appreciate, not so much appreciate it, but it will solve the problem that they have. So for us, we understand that when the general public just wants a window treatment, fine, they'll go to a box store.
Right.
Most don't really
They're not
care.
discerning. Right.
Right, exactly. I mean, how many houses have any of either
Nonsense.
us or designers have been to? They're like, "Oh, I've had these sheets on my window for the last like 5 years."
Paper shades.
What? Right,
Paper shades, like
paper shades
literally
for like
years.
3 years,
Yeah. Yeah.
years and years.
Yeah.
So
Folding it up, putting
right,
little clip on it.
exactly. So for us to really, push it to the general population, they're not they don't have a problem. Like they may
Yeah.
think this is nice, but I'm fine with
Where I
my problem is
am.
actually
You're
solved
just
by
noise. You're just more
this. I
noise in
use
the
huge.
space that
It's
I was
another
in.
option.
Oh,
Exactly.
God, so clutch.
So, for us, we thought, all right, if we target designers and we focus on designers, we know that first and foremost, designers are about quality. So we are going to make these in the exact same way by the exact same people that make our custom draperies. And
Wow.
then therefore they will know that even though the price is lower. And we'll look to like how to lower the price in other places.
Sure, like the
You know,
limit the selections. You can't just pick any old fabric. It's not COM. That's
exactly.
not it. There aren't 50 choices. There's 7 choices and X amount of colorways, and that's it. Get in your
Right,
lane.
right.
Right.
So exactly. So I think when people are trying to determine what product they're going to put out there, I do think they have to figure out not just their audience or not just their market and the smaller subsection of that market, but like what do they not want to compromise on? Like
Yeah.
because you know as you make changes, as you shift, you cannot please everybody all the time. So um, we had to decide if we're going to go for if we were going to general population, then all right, fine, we can just slap it together and throw it out there.
Yeah.
But we were going to get and we figured designers are the ones that have talked to us about this issue, and if it's exclusive, that's another pain point for designers is trade
Yeah.
protection.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
They have lost so much trade protection over the years. The general population has so much access to pricing that designers it's hard for designers to make money a lot of
Yeah.
times
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because people can see the pricing.
Yeah.
So we figure out another pain point for us was let's make this exclusive. Designers have been good to us, let's be good to them.
Wow.
So if you really niche down to the people who you really need to serve, then yes, you might be eliminating 75% of the total market, but that niche, they'll appreciate it and they'll be loyal to you and they will keep coming back.
Well,
Um,
I have to tell you, first of all, I have this thing for within my, process of making a podcast, Bryan. And what happens is when I'm talking to a guest, I'm writing notes. The question I want to ask you, I don't want to forget while you're talking, so I don't interrupt you. I'm writing notes to my writers. Hey, this is an important part. And then I usually write a note where I write money line and I put next to it and I write exactly what the guest said. I put quotes around it and I put your initials. So the writer knows that this is your words and it's the money line, right? I'm lucky if I get 1 or 2 money lines a show. Okay, we are 17 minutes into this and I have 4 money lines so far, Bryan. Okay, so here's what I want to do. I want to just take a little sit here and, you know, one of the things within talking about your product that we wanted to cover. So there were 3 points that you and I'm now like revealing the whole backstory of the
right,
podcast here, right? The 3 things that we wanted to cover was how to define your market, how to price your product, and how to get post-launch feedback. Because these are the 3 things, in addition to your product being very important and useful for designers, is useful for any designer that's like, I got a product idea, right?
right.
So here I am under how to define your market. We've got this thinking comes from years of listening to our designers. Okay. That is one of your money lines. Another one was first and most important thing to know is who am I selling to? The other one was whose problem am I trying to solve? And the other one was what do they not want to compromise on? Like this is like an MBA class right now in defining your market. Like I'm just saying. I'm thrilled when any one person introduces a product to market and tells to me about it on the show and has any one of these in their brain. But I mean, this is the thing. These are the things, whether we're talking about launching a new semi-custom drapery line or somebody sitting there in their studio dreaming about having a lighting product or a rug design or a furniture design, right? These are the things that you went through in order to really come at a thing that you
Right.
wanted to do. You didn't just go make semi-custom drapes. You answered these questions for yourself, you and Rachel, right, Bryan?
Absolutely. And it was a long process. And what I would say to anyone thinking of launching a product is take your time. The other thing I will say is once you identify your market, don't assume that you know everything that they want.
Mm.
So um, talk to them. So once you figure out I want to do lighting or some new case good or a bookcase or as economists will say a widget or whatever, like Go to the people that you are going to be selling this to and just ask them, hey, what variations do you guys like? What variations do you not like? What's out there in the market right now? What do you hate about it? What do you love about
Yeah, yeah,
it?
yeah.
And yes, you can do some research online, look at your competitors, what they offer, what their pricing is, but that's not going to tell you what the user is actually feeling about those products.
Right.
So, and that's extremely important because you want to somehow distinguish yourself, but also I think you want your audience to know that you are actually doing this to
For
help
them.
them. So, what I did was literally I would meet once I figure, all right, we're going to do this line, we're going to focus on designers. Um, I went to a company that represents various mills, and they actually sell to some of your larger jobbers, brand names as well. So it's a quality fabric. Went to them, they brought fabrics, we put them in notebooks, and I literally just made appointments with designers
Good for you.
and sat down with them and just opened up the book. I had like 3 or 4 binders and just
Yeah.
said,
Which ones do you like?
what do you like? I
Right.
mean, I know what I like
Right.
and
But
I know
if
what comes through our workroom,
yeah.
but this is a different way of thinking because this is, like you said, this is a market that, all right, just something that's neutral. I just want to, do the guest room. So when your clients are looking at that, or when your budget clients are looking for something, what are they looking for?
Yeah.
So, designer, Mr. Mrs. Designer, just tell me. Just open ended, flip through. Do you hate this? Do you not like this? And then I would just write it all down.
Yeah.
And then I would talk to them about the widths, one width, 1.5 width, 2 width. Like, what do you guys like? And what was interesting was several would say, you know what, you got to have a one width panel. And I would the only was like the only time I would push back. I said, okay. So, question: when is the last time you actually ordered a one width panel?
From
And
me
they would
custom,
stop.
right. Yeah.
Right? They would stop. Like, you know what? We
Actually,
never do one width panels. Matter of fact, we don't actually like one width
they're like
panels.
this can
You know what?
be.
Scrap the one width panel. Let's all right, 1.5 width and 2 widths. That's great.
Yeah.
And then for the lengths, as we all said, lengths that people can actually use. Like, please, someone make something we can use. And I just had, I have my, notes on my computer and just pages and pages of
Good for
notes.
you.
And then afterwards, like, all right, what points scored the highest? What fabrics did most of the designers like? Um, and actually, at one point, I had to stop myself. And I think when you're launching a product, you are going to come to it with certain biases, all
Okay.
right, and the test is to try to suppress those biases and not try to project them onto the people that you're talking to. So
Yes.
one of the fabrics, glacier, I think it's awesome, I really like it. So I found myself at times as they were looking through the fabric saying, hey, what about this fabric, do you like? And it's like, wait, no, this is not for me. This is not my bias. So I think that's that is another
I
thing I
want that
would
one to
say.
make the cut. I want
Exactly.
that
I
one to
want
make.
this to make this cut. I mean, luckily it actually did, but
Oh, okay.
the
That's when
but
you're
the
like, wait, do I actually not have good taste? Like, none of you like the one I like?
exactly, exactly. So I think we have to eliminate our own biases.
Open mind. You gotta be open
You have
minded.
to
You're
open
you
mind. But
you know your whole thing. You're talking about the exercise is to go research what
right.
your target user wants, so you can't come to it with your list of things that you want to feed them. Right?
Right, right,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So don't make assumptions. You know, like I said, we have been in business for a while. We mainly work with designers, but if you're a designer and you're thinking about coming out with something for your clients, I mean, you have your client list.
Yes.
Email them. Your best clients that you think would like a product that you're thinking about, call them up,
Yeah.
talk to them. Hey, you know what? I remember when we did this project together and you purchased X, but you had some complaints about it. What if it was modified this way, or what if it was modified? Or maybe they didn't have any complaints at first, but you, as a designer, understands. it wasn't quite as usable as you would like for it to be, then call them up. Like, hey, what if it did X and Y?
Yeah.
Would that have been a better product for you? And if they say yes, and you're like, hey, you know what? That's not on the market. I'm thinking about developing it. I'm just going through some market research here. And use your clients. Those are your best resources
Mhm.
for what will actually sell and what they actually want.
Exactly, exactly. I love it. I love how thorough your approach to the whole thing was. I love how open it was, how collaborative it was, because it gets you to a great result that your client wants. It's like you're now like, I made the thing you asked for. Here it is. Isn't this? Before we get to the show, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Cravat Inc. for sponsoring the show. Have you heard the majority of Cravat Inc. products are in stock and ready to ship within days? Yes. Order your favorite patterns from Cravat's exclusive in stock collections. You can keep your interior design projects on track with Cravat Inc. Go to Cravat.com today to set up an account. And I want you to jot down this code AWDB10. You can use this code for 10% off any one order of Cravat fabric wallpaper or trim when you order online. AWDB10. Go to Cravat.com today and get started. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So the next thing though is how to price a product. So what did you learn in pricing, coming to a pricing point on these products that you can share with us as far as that for us to translate to what we might do?
Sure. So this was actually pretty difficult, because there is always a conflict between, price and, a competitive price and high quality. So our challenge was balancing that. Now, if you're in a high-end luxury market, maybe the price, the sky's the limit,
Right.
But even in those instances, and you have a high price point, I think you still have to show the value that distinguishes you from the competition that might be in a lower price point or a higher price point than you
Right. Yep.
are. But we were trying to balance these two and yet still not compromise on quality.
Yeah.
So the first stage, and LuAnn, you'll love this, is know your numbers. So
Yeah. Right.
S- So what was interesting is honestly, my wife handles a lot of the admin. I shouldn't say a lot, but handles pretty much all the admin because she was a paralegal in a past life and is mentally predisposed to being
She's got the
organized.
brain. She's
She's
got
got
that
the brain
brain.
for
Yep.
it.
We
She's
just
got the brain
admire that
for it.
brain.
Right, right. But we're trying to develop this, and this was really my, idea. So I didn't want, hey, honey, on top of all the other admin that you've got to do, can you just run through a couple pricing scenarios for
Yeah, could you
for
just like
me?
build the
Just
different things? Build it all up. Let's knock it down. Build it again. Spend your time. And then if it doesn't work, oh, thanks for doing all that.
exactly. Thanks for doing that.
Not a good
So
idea. Okay.
right. So for me, it was all right. Well, let's look at what it costs for us to actually make these draperies, just
Yeah.
normally. So not just the labor, but the buckram,
Yes.
the lining, the weight that we put in there, um, you know, the threads that we use. And it
Exactly.
really just like break the panel down to its component parts and see, generally speaking, what is this going to cost us? And it was kind of a great exercise for me. So, you know what? This process could be for anyone who is, it's a great way to understand and get a deeper sense of really how your business
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and how you're, if you have employees, like, like how much time are they spending per panel? And, what is the price? What is the labor cost of this? So
Exactly.
then after that, it was all right. So we need to make this competitive. Where can we lower the price, whether it be through materials or process?
Okay.
So, and I think the first point is, what are we not going to lower?
Mm.
So we're still going to use the weights. We're still going to use, the quality buckram. We're still going to use the quality lining. As a matter of fact, that was one of Rachel's real like we are not like we're not cheaping out on the lining, and you can get lining for a lot less expensive
Yeah.
than
Yeah. Yeah.
what
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
pay for our line that we use in our custom draperies. But it adds body, it protects the fabric. It's a quality point. So those are things we were not going to touch. All right, so then fabric. So, we talked to a couple of brands and then we went on to um, one of the workroom forum boards and they mentioned the company that we're using now and how much they really like them. And I would say that is, if you're looking for a reputable company in order to, you know, help you develop something, it- talk to trade people that you are comfortable with. Talk to, various vendors. Who do your vendors use?
Right.
So um, we talked to them. They came down. We really liked what they said. Rachel was here. She's our head seamstress, and it was literally like, "Honey, I like these fabrics. Do you like these fabrics? Like, how's this going to work in the workroom?
Right. Right.
Practically speaking, when we're making them, if we're trying to keep the price down, we can't have a fabric that's going to increase our
That's
labor costs."
wonky, right, that it does
Right.
it just moves and it stretches and it does all the things, and now it's, like,
Exactly.
taking you 50% more time to make a panel because you save $3 a yard on the fabric. Like, hello,
Exactly.
but you
Right.
paid a human their hourly rate an extra 2 hours to do it. Awesome,
Right.
great 3
Right.
bucks a
Right.
yard we saved, love that. That
Right.
$9 for those 3 yards for that panel versus
That's right.
3 hours at a custom seamstress's labor.
Exactly.
Stop.
Exactly.
Right,
Exactly.
right,
So
right.
right. So with the fabric, one of the things we wanted to avoid, obviously stuff that's shifty, like you said, but we really also wanted to avoid like 100% linen.
Yes.
But
Oh
we
gosh.
all know
We'd like to avoid
homeowners
that in
love
custom,
linen.
wouldn't we?
I would love to avoid that in custom, believe me. And
Ixnay on the 100% linen.
always, always. Um, yeah, when
Mm.
one when we say 100% linen, it's like, oh,
I
okay.
know. I know. I,
That's
like, hate it. I used to hate it.
or
I'm so glad I don't have to do
yeah,
it anymore.
you're right. So, we wanted to avoid that. And this company, they said, look, we understand the issues that workrooms have. So what we have for you are linen style. They look
Mhm.
like linen, but have no linen in them whatsoever.
Love it.
And that was fantastic.
And
So,
that's exactly what like any designer, you or me as custom windows, you could say that to the homeowner. Look,
right,
sweetie, if you want the real linen, we're back to custom. But remember, this is the guest bedroom, it's the kids' bedroom, it's this downstairs study. Like, this looks linen like.
right.
Like,
And yep,
that's the point.
yep. And I have to tell you, like, and even though, like I said, designers love linen too, and homeowners love linen, when I told people, hey, by the way, there's no linen in these fabrics,
Oh,
every
you're
designer
surprised.
was surprised, happy,
Oh, you
like,
found a good one.
because linen is, it
It's
grows, it
brutal.
stretches, it's brutal. So that's another thing about the process is, you know, sometimes, when you come to your, prospective clients with an idea, like, you might be surprised by what they say because I thought, well, all right, maybe
I'm going to
okay,
go
like,
sell them on
it's not
this.
100% linen, and they're like, oh, thank God it's not linen,
Well, they hate it as much as we do.
All right. So, so that was a way to keep the price down, was to find a quality fabric that we could get almost direct from a mill because
Okay.
this is a place that they rep the mill,
Right.
so they're getting it directly for us. So that significantly dropped the price. Um, the other issue that we were kind of dealing with was shipping.
Oh,
Um,
I was wondering about that. Yes.
Shipping is always an issue. So, you know, we um, we were using a service that kind of aggregates a bunch of small businesses to get like lower UPS prices,
Mhm.
and it was decent. Um, but I asked around, and one of my friends said, "Hey, have you ever heard of Pirate Ship?" And I was like, "No, I've never heard of Pirate Ship. What is this fly by night like website?" Like, are you kidding me?
Exactly. Huh.
So we did some research, and they're relatively new, but gaining huge traction. The shipping prices are sometimes 50, 60% lower than, if you were
Whoa.
just to go to UPS or FedEx on their own.
Whoa.
And now some of our like vendors that we use for Roman shades, the lift systems, they're now using pirate
Pirate
ship
ship.
because it's gaining track. So talk around, man. There could be
Yeah.
resources out there that you hadn't even thought of or know that's out there. Look at your friend. If you're a designer, you've got friends that you look up to that are great in business. They always seem to be on top of the latest business software. The latest ways to add efficiency.
Yeah.
Talk to them. If
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
got a
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
relationship with them, talk to them. Pick their brains. And talk to your vendors. So for our hardware, I was surprised to find out. I called, a couple of vendors and they're like, "Oh yeah, we already have that kind of a program set up for people
Oh.
to ship out like in bulk, quickly and fast, that they stock stuff, and because they ship out a lot, they have special rates with UPS and FedEx that they've already
Oh.
negotiated that was less than I could
Ever.
ever
Ever.
get."
Right.
And so
Hi, it's Brian. It's me, Brian, here in Connecticut.
exactly, exactly. So, and then what they said they would do, because you know, if we were shipping hardware, I didn't want the hardware company's name on there. I would like it to look like it's coming directly from us. Um, so they ship directly. They said we'll ship directly to customers, and we'll take our name off of
White
the
label it
box.
for you.
We'll white label it. The
Nice.
packing slip will have your name on it.
Wow.
Um, and so that way for hardware, our shipping costs dramatically dropped,
That's
you
great.
know, because they would take care of the shipping. By the way, our time dropped too, because then we don't have to
Yes.
package all this stuff,
Oh
repackage it,
gosh.
put our own
Yes.
boxes, add
Yes.
that cost to the product as well,
Yeah.
and then ship it out on our own.
Right.
Um, so I would say, two things. One, well, three things. One, figure out what you don't want to compromise on. Two,
Right.
figure out where you can lower your prices, whether you're buying in bulk or a vendor that can provide a quality product at a lesser price. And three, talk to your vendors. You have no idea what programs they already have in place that
Yeah.
can help you with logistics, with pricing, with shipping, and that will take a huge headache off your mind.
Right. I love that. I love that because it's like you don't know what you don't know. And
Right.
they could say, "Yeah, Brian, we're not set up for that." But like some said, we were already you didn't invent the wheel, Brian. We got it
Right.
covered. It's just,
Exactly.
put your nickel in and it'll keep rolling. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
I love that. I love that. So, question for you because I want to
Yeah.
do the next thing that we're going to cover is post-launch feedback, okay? But before we get to that, it's a good question when you talked about shipping because I was thinking about it earlier. This does not come with your custom measuring and installation because now we've just crossed over into custom, right? We've got a custom quality workmanship on the sewing. We've got a good quality fabric.
Right.
And if we're also going to have a professional window treatment person measure it and install it, kind of the only thing that's not actually custom is the limitation on the width size and the length size and the actual not being able to COM. So do your designer accounts, Brian, just get it? It's like, and are you doing a thing where if a designer is say, look, there's every designer will take the project for their brother, sister, whoever, like they're doing it for blah, blah, blah. And they're going to they're never going to be a custom drapery candidate. I'm going to go right to Brian's line. I'm going to go to SLA Express. I'm going to get this for them, but it's everything on the job. Either it's one room or everything on the job is going to end up being SLA Express. But that designer is a custom to custom and they don't have somebody that can measure and install. Or that's scenario one. The whole job is SLA Express. Scenario two is, hey, Bri, I'm doing 5 rooms with you custom. I'm doing 2 rooms SLA Express. So how are you handling that measuring and install in those 2 different scenarios?
Okay. We'll take the second scenario first. So and we've had several jobs like that.
I can imagine.
Um, and so what I do when I'm measuring, so obviously we have a measure fee, but it's a flat fee. So I just include that,
Okay.
all the windows in
You
that
don't
measure.
charge extra for the couple
I
of
don't
those
charge extra for
rooms
that.
or windows.
Uh, exactly, it's a flat fee if it's one window. If it's 20 windows, the price is that's the price.
Okay.
So so obviously so they've already so I'll measure those windows too, and then while I'm there, I'll tell them, okay, based on my measurements, I think this is the rod that you should be getting for SLA Express. Here's the length of draperies that you should be getting for SLA Express as well. Um, and then we just install everything at once. So even though the SLA Express panel can be made a lot faster than the other custom stuff, I tell them, hey, look, I mean, you can have a separate install if you want, but why not just wrap it all into one
Okay.
install and
So
get
if
it all
they're
done at once?
doing other custom work in the house,
Yeah,
you'll provide them the sizes they need to order for themselves to go on your website and order the SLA Express items.
yeah,
And as long as they don't want a separate install for that, you'll fold that in. You'll just do it as part of the custom.
exactly.
I can totally see that. That makes complete sense. These are your clients, these are designers that you work with over and over again. You didn't build this thing to make their lives miserable. Okay.
Right.
All right. Now, they only need SLA Express, but they're like, but Bri, I don't know how to measure. I don't know how to install. Now, what do you do?
All right. So two options. Number one, obviously, if they're in our service area, I can do the measure. I have no problem doing that. Um, and if they want, and some have said this to us, can you just do the install as well?
Right.
And so with no problem, we'll do the measure and we'll do the install. Don't worry about it. If let's say they have some rough measurements, so what I'll ask them is, and one of the things that we try to do is, um, which is I think a little bit different than some of the other companies, is we'll answer any and all questions that you have. Your call when you call customer service, you're talking to me. So you're talking to the owner, you're
Can I have the
talking to the
customer
person
service
who set up the
department,
job,
please?
and you're talking to the person. So a question is, okay, how high is the window from the floor?
Right.
And then how much space do you have from that window to the ceiling?
Right.
All right. So if you have 10 inches from the top of the window to the ceiling,
You're
all
good.
right,
You're
you're
good,
good.
sweetie. Yeah.
And then I will tell them, rule of thumb, um, your draperies are going to hang 2.5, maybe 3 inches, below the top of like the bracket. So you need at least that much space
Yeah.
above the window so that it's not hanging, below. So the drapery itself isn't hanging below the
Below the
window,
window frame.
below the window frame, because these are things that we think about,
Right.
in the custom,
Because we've made those
because
mistakes.
we've made those, right, exactly, right. We made those mistakes so that you don't have to, you
Exactly.
know. So I will walk them through. Like I said, if you've got 5 inches, if you got 10 inches, fine. You can choose this one. You can choose this one. How wide is my? Do you know how wide the window is? And you don't need to be to the eighth of an inch
No.
here. Most designers, they understand how to measure. They measure rooms, so
Right,
they're
right,
not going to be like 5 inches off on the
right,
window, right?
right.
So yeah, all right. Just tell me what and you can even email that to me. Hey,
Here's
here's the
the
width of the window.
dimensions. What do you think?
What do you think?
Yeah.
And I'll also ask, like, hey, do you want the draperies to open and close? Yes. Are they basically typically stationary? Yes.
Mhm.
But I will tell them, if your window is under this width, hey,
And you order
then
two
and
panel
you and
width,
you
you
get
can
2 minute
open and
width,
close it. Yeah.
which you can open and close it.
Mhm.
Um, and also, as of right now too, we are, and maybe this maybe gets into the feedback part, but um it's a standard drapery, but if they want to add black outlining, it's a special order, and then we can add that. So if it's for a bedroom,
Right.
um, and we are working on adding
Making that an option.
surcharges, right,
Yeah.
into a standardized option.
Yeah.
Um, you know, Especially on the website, and I can talk all day about website development and the process that
I know.
That was
I
it
know.
was
I
brutal.
know. I know. It's the same with
So
me on my business. I'll say to Nicole Heimer, she's the founder of, the creative director of Glory and Brand. And I'll be like, okay, so Nicole, so, we need a different forum. Like after Power Talk Friday, I want to be able to ask them this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, so, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, Lou, just, break, like I have to load this thing on a thing. I have to build a wireframe for it. I'm just like, oh, okay, that's complicated. All right. I just wanted to ask one other question.
right, exactly, exactly. But if I could just go back for a quick second, this is not a custom product, but we would like that kind of customer service to be custom, if that makes
Yes.
any sense.
Well, it's in your
So, and I,
DNA. You're
yeah,
you didn't just turn into a box store. You're still a
right,
custom
right,
drapery workroom, and
right,
these are your customers, right? So there's
right,
there's going to be things, and I hear you. Like the need for measuring truly is probably far between, and maybe there's a couple of times where you do go. Forgetting the situation when you're measuring the rest of the space, right?
right,
But there might be a couple of times where a designer will say, come out and measure with me. But once you have those couple of questions, like this is the rule of thumb, this is
right.
they're smart human beings. They'll figure it
Exactly,
out, right?
exactly.
The question though, and the thing for me I want to make sure we clarify is if the whole job is SLA Express and they do want it installed by you, they're going to order the product through the SLA Express online platform, but they're going to come to you and ask you for a quote for installation. And that's going
Correct.
to be a separate line item.
Right,
Right.
right,
Like they can say, oh, the couple at the house can have it will and have an argument until 4 o'clock in the morning about where the rod goes, or the designer can get the custom installation service
correct.
from you. It's just going to be a separate line item. That's all.
Right,
They're going to
right.
pay it a different way. They're going to invoice them through the Sewing Loft of
Yep.
Avon, and the other is going to go through the website. I just want to make sure I understood that, right?
Yeah,
That makes
exactly.
sense.
Yep, yeah, that's exactly correct. Um, and we've even had instances, and we're always looking for ways to try to make it a little easier. So we've had instances where, um, while on the phone, if the person say, hey, I want this, what do you think the whips are? And I say, you can order this through the app. I mean, through the website if you want, and then we can tell you what they're like, well, can you just quote the whole thing for me? Fine. You know what? We'll quote the whole thing for you and
Yeah.
then send you a quote, you know, and all of our quotes are line itemed anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they'll
Yeah.
see what the SLA Express quote, is the hardware and, the
Custom.
install.
Yeah.
Would I prefer going
Yeah.
through the website? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But once again, we're trying to provide a custom customer service.
Yeah.
And, if the person is on the phone, if it eliminates a step for them for
Mm-hmm.
that project because they've got 15 other things that they need to handle that day,
Yep.
no problem.
Right.
We
Right.
can do that.
I love it. I love it. Great, great frame of mind. A great way to approach it, right? So last little section here on post-launch feedback.
So that has been good. So one of the things that we did was we also brought on a rep. So we want to obviously her job is to sell the product, but also to have her ear to
Mm,
what the clients are saying. You know, I know the people I talk to like the fabrics, but there's a wider community liking the fabric.
yeah.
Are they looking? How many times are they getting requests for trim? COM trim. Like, how many times are they getting requests for blackout lining?
Mm,
Um, when it's installed, are they liking? I love how it dresses and folds, but do they like it? Is there
right.
anything that they would like to see different? Even down to like the marketing materials, like do they like are the squares of the we provide squares of fabric and also a actual miniature drapery,
Mm,
so that the designer can literally hand it to their client and say, this is a representation of what you're going to get. Is that working for the clients as
mm,
well? um, so And then whenever it's install, I always, I'll ask the, designer to, especially if I'm there. If I'm there, it's great because I get to see, okay, is it is the hardware looking great? Is the hardware like coming as it's supposed to come? Like,
Yeah.
are pieces missing? And then
Yeah.
hey, then I need to talk to the vendor and say,
Vendor.
hey, there was a bracket missing, or this was
Yes,
missing,
yes, yes.
or the finish was scratched.
Yeah.
So I would say find ways to provide to get that feedback.
Mhm.
Our reps have been great. They had a when it came to blackout line, and it was all right. They're not. It's not that they're going to be purchasing a lot of it. They just want to have the option.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then, how do we build that option in? Trim. How do we build that option in? What is going to be our surcharge? Um, is this something that we can do right now, or is it something that we have to hold off on for, sorry, a little bit
Yeah.
for any various reasons?
Well, because,
Um,
like, I mean, listen, I would think it's not gonna take marginally it's gonna take marginally more time for you to fabricate a drape with blackout versus regular lining. Maybe it's a little
right,
tougher to handle, blah, 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 but we're not
right,
yeah. But trim, whole different
yeah,
story, and when you talk
right,
about knowing your numbers, it's like, well, you, my dear clients out there, designers, might be saying, be great to have trim on this. But as soon as I've got to put the labor on to add the trim, did we just bring this into a product where your next thought is, well, if I'm going to pay that much money, I may as well get my own fabric that I really love that matches the sofa or whatever. So
right.
it's that knowing your numbers component in there, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And also, look, there is not all trim is made equal. There are some
Yeah.
great
Yeah. Yeah.
tape
Yeah.
trims that are easy to use, but you can get some fancy frilly trims out there and like,
Yeah, how
all
am
right,
I
so we
sewing that
just
on? Hand
lost money.
sewing. Yeah,
Exactly.
hand
I'm
sewing
now
that
hand
baby.
sewing this on.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right.
So, you know, and that comes to kind of the pricing too. All right, so how do we price it so that we make money? Because I know I've talked a lot about how much this is for designers, but it's also for us to make money on as well.
Hello.
So exactly. So how do we make money and enough money so that when we get that kind of one-off trim, that all right, this is going to be difficult, this is going to have to be hand sewed, that we don't lose a whole bunch of margin on that, or is it something where we say, hey, look,
These
you
are the
know,
4 trim options. Maybe
yeah,
that's it. Maybe it's like
right,
these are the 4 trim like there's this style tape in these 3 colors, this style tape in these 3 colors. Pick it,
yeah,
move on. Don't, you want beyond that, you just moved into custom. I think
right,
you could do that. I think, I mean, if you wanted to, you know what I'm saying? But then even like when we keep talking about knowing your numbers, now you're stocking trims,
right.
because you've committed to a 3-week lead time. So, okay, so now I'm looking over there at an inventory of X amount of yards of trim in 2 different styles and 4 different colors, maybe. And it's like,
Right.
that's a consideration for you.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
um, it's everyone like a lot of people are going. Everyone's going to want everything at a
Yeah.
certain point. So I think as if you have a product, I think one of the things that you have to um, get out of the mind frame is don't have FOMO on accessories.
Mhm.
Like everyone's going to say, oh, what if you did this? What if you add this? Okay, but they're not the ones that have to pay for it. They're not the ones that have to
Right.
stock it. So you have to think, hey, is this something that fits within the business model that we
Yes.
have?
Yeah.
Is this request a one-off, or are 60% of the people that we talk to or that use a product, are they asking for it?
Right.
Okay, then then maybe it's a surcharge that then gets, so then they can voluntarily add that to the price, and it's up to them. Um,
Yeah, the
and
analogy would be like if somebody was designing like a lighting line. We keep using that as the
right,
example. It's like, okay, so it's these 3 colors, champagne, nickel, and, I don't know, charcoal, like whatever.
right,
And it's like, but we want this patina, brass, bronzy thing,
right,
right?
right,
Well, okay, can we do that at the same price point? Or is that like completely ridiculous because you've got to go to the manufacturer and ask a blah, blah, blah? Or could it be done with a markup? Like, could it be done with a surcharge, to your point?
right, right,
But I think the bigger point that you're making is, do you love that and you just want it, or are 60 at least 60% of your potential clients going to want it too, because you
Right.
got to make this a saleable product, not just because otherwise just design a one-off with a
Right.
artisan and make that beautiful one-off thing for your client, right?
Right, exactly. And you have to know when to say no. And that's the
Yeah, uncle.
hardest thing
Yeah.
for any of us to
Yeah.
do. So,
I can
you know,
design still,
yeah,
I
so
can add still, I can this.
right. And at a certain point it's like, well, hey, your lengths aren't going to work. Can you provide something that's, 110 inches or, 80 inches?
Yeah.
I can, but not under this program.
No, right, you gotta come over custom.
You
Yep.
have to come up with a custom, and I am someone, and Rachel, my wife, will say it, like, I hate saying
I
no,
can just
and
imagine you I'm like,
you
"Don't
know
put him in charge of saying no."
exactly. I'm
We're gonna
always
have to
like,
get you
how
out of customer service, Bryan.
right, like how can I make this work and say no? And so you know, and I think also, I think what's key in this process too is to have someone that is removed from the
That's
process
it.
to
Yeah.
talk to you about the process too, because there have been multiple times when Rachel will say, "But Brian, this is not like now you're just moving it into custom.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
must
yeah,
have a
yeah, yeah,
custom
yeah.
product." Like, yeah, but I know, but it's just like 2 more inches that we can. But that's not the
That's
program.
right.
Like
We
if
need a
they want,
sign for your office. Vinny had those like kind of like nameplates that like a little on an angle that sit on your desk. Like you think about it
right,
like
right,
back in the day, you'd walk into somebody's office and be like Mr. Joe Blow, right? It was on the
right.
nameplate. So Vinny had those all made up and they're on every one of our desks. And it's like, yes, we can. How can I help you? So we're gonna have to make one for Bryan. No, I can't. That's custom.
Exactly. That's right. That's right. And that's why I think over the over one of the overarching lessons is as you go through the process of trying to develop a product, definitely have someone who's outside of your
Yeah.
process that you trust talking to you, and involve them, run
Yeah.
things by them so that because you're going to get excited, okay? Because I know that for a fact because I get excited. So you're going to get excited. This is like your brainchild. You're going to have, all types of visions in your head, and you're going to need someone to kind of bring you back down to reality.
Yeah.
Um, interesting enough, that person for me in this instance is my wife. And, for better or worse, we have to live together. So it's like, okay,
I don't know
fine,
what that's
fine,
like, Bryan. I don't know what
whatever.
that's like
I
trying to make
guess you're
somebody
right.
happy.
Or
That's
exactly.
in my business.
Or I'll walk away and then come back and say, okay, maybe you were right. Okay, whatever. You want to go out for dinner?
Oh, that's
You
fun.
know?
That's fun.
So, but it is so like, and also since I know about fabrication, but she knows
Yes.
fabrication.
Yes. Yes.
So she can say to me, okay, if you want to do this, here are and I will say, hey, I thought of, I'll be all happy and proud. Like, hey, I thought of these, three things that, might be an issue. So I think I've covered everything. And she's like, well, what about these other five things? Yeah. You're like,
You guys are me
oh,
and Vin in reverse. I'm like,
whatever.
I got it all figured out. And he's like, "Oh, that's great, Lou. You forgot these, right? Like I get
Right.
it." But that's
Exactly.
why. How about when you get the high five, though?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
when I was, especially I've told the story 1,000 times when I went in with the podcast and I had it all, this is my business plan. This is all the things I'm going to do. This is all the ways it's going to work. This is all my ideas. This is how much it's going to cost. And this is what I think, how long it's going to take to make money and all the things. And I laying it all out. And at the end, I will never forget it. He just looked at me and he go, well, and I always have to say, when I first said it, he was like, okay, wait. Tell me what's a podcast again? And I'm like, Nigara. He's like, I know you've been talking about it for 4 months, but what is it? So I tell him, but then I go
Yeah.
through the whole business plan and I get all the way to the bottom. And he just looks at me and I'm like dying. Like my heart is in my throat. Right. And I just
Yeah.
look, I'm staring at him and he goes, I think this will work. I'm like, yeah. Like, not one, yeah, but you didn't think
Right.
of this. So, we don't get that a lot, right? Most of the time
Right.
we get
Right. Right.
16 things that we didn't think about, right? But
Exactly.
when we
Yeah.
get it, it's like, yes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Or like, there was one time, when we were talking, me and my wife had our little meeting to discuss everything. Um, and I was like, all right, so I think, based on these things, we can price it here.
Yeah.
And she looked at everything and she's like, well, actually, if we do this and this, I think we can actually get it a little lower. I'm like, wait,
Ooh,
what? Wait, did you just say what?
wait.
Whoa, okay. All right. And the other thing, and this was her idea. Um, so for each width, so for the 1.5 width, for all the lengths, it's one price. So and for the 2 width panel, for all the lengths, it is one price.
Great
And
job.
that was her idea because she thought, look,
It's
you
too
know,
complicated otherwise.
right, right. She's
Too
like,
many
our
variables.
designers are busy.
Yeah.
They have to deal with all types of different variables in their heads. I don't even know how. Just
Yep.
picking a door and lighting, or it blows my
I
mind.
know,
I've
I
gone to
know.
CEUs on like doors, and I'm sitting like, how is this an hour CU on a door, on indoor outdoor door, like
Right. And
whatever?
then you go
And
and you're
I'll
like,
sit there and I'm like,
whoa, an hour's not enough.
right. And other designers are writing stuff down and asking questions. And I'm just like, how is this stuff in your head? I don't get it. So she's like, they got a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
So
That's
let's
smart.
make
That's
this
smart.
easy. And once again, I think it goes back to knowing your
Yeah.
market,
Yeah.
and how can you make their life easier.
Yeah. Solve their
So,
problems,
yep.
like you
And
said.
also, if you're going to say so, I've said a couple times we're exclusive to the trade. So, how does that work? If you're going to make some selling point, make sure it actually works. So, on our website, if you just go onto the website, you don't see any pricing.
Yeah.
You only see pricing if you log in, and then on the back end, we get notification that someone has logged in.
And you have to
We
let
have to
them in.
accept it
Yep.
in order for them then to see pricing.
And
So
they
if
have
it's
to
a
have a
designer that we
trade
work
resale certificate. They
exactly,
not from the
exactly.
dentist office of their husband or their wife. Like
That's right. That's right. So then
exactly.
after you get information, then we then open up the cart and pricing. So that way, we make sure we stay to our commitment to the trade. And we have a couple of designers who have like virtual design, and they have where they will just put together the design plan for
Hmm.
people, and they would like to include SLA Express. And we said, absolutely, that's fantastic. You have to buy
But
it.
you got to buy it. I'm not
You have to buy it.
making a different rule for you.
Right, exactly. And again, I had to, Bryan, brace yourself. Come on. And
No is a complete sentence, Bryan.
now
It is a
exactly. So
complete
it's like,
sentence.
I'm happy for that. That's awesome. We're excited to work with you. We are committed to keeping this exclusive to the trade, so you
Yeah.
have to buy it for your customer.
Yeah. Yeah, because, their one-off customer then, starts ordering it for the whole neighborhood.
Right, right, right. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Look what
And
I
let's face
got. My
right,
designer got it for me, but I just
right.
did it myself.
Exactly. And by the way, that also means that the designer can, mark it up to whoever
This
they
is it
want,
true. Exactly
you know?
true. Yep.
So,
Well, this is awesome. Before we go, we're going to put it in the show notes as well, but how do designers find the program, Bryan? What website?
okay. So the website is www.sewinglofofavon.com. And then there's on the top navigation, just click SLA Express.
I love it. I love it. So good. So good. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited for you and Rachel.
Thank you.
This, I believe you've got a nice hit on your hands. So
Thank you.
congratulations. And I'll be looking forward to watching it take
Yeah,
off.
and I would just say if you follow us on Instagram, you can actually see we'll actually post like our process of actually making the SLA
Oh,
Express
fun,
stuff.
fun,
So
fun.
once again, you can actually see the process.
And Instagram is Sewing Loft of Avon.
It's Sewing Loft _ CT.
Okay. Sewing Loft _CT. Terrific. We will
Actually, you
put
know what?
that.
Give me one moment because I just realized I never
I know.
go on this
That's what I always
myself. So let me
say.
just
I always say just, I
make
don't know. Ask somebody who got my name.
oh yeah, I'm sorry. The Sewing Loft _ CT.
All right. Love it. Love it. Love it. Thanks so much, Bryan. It was fun to talk with you.
Thank you so much, LuAnn. It's always a pleasure.
Don't you just love it when I have hashtag smart guys on the show, not just smart ladies, right? Bryan touched on so many important things, but some of the main points that we discussed are the following. Bryan's experience with SLA Express underscores the critical importance of understanding your target market, right? So for Bryan, listening to you, listening to your pain points and your needs over the years, because of this, him and his wife, Rachel, came up with this idea for this specific product that fills a specific gap that you have on your projects, okay? And it all comes from paying close attention to your needs throughout the years of working with you. And he did something very smart. Instead of making assumptions on what he thought you would like, he kept asking his designer clients, what were the problems you were facing? Okay? Because it's always your target consumer that is your best resource on what will sell. So if you're considering product development, does your client and the person who will ultimately buy it want it? Or is it just something you think would be great? Right? So you really have to get to the heart of that, because sometimes when you guys develop product, you're developing it for your peer group to place in projects. Sometimes you're developing it straight to consumer, but you do have to know if it's something more than just you would want, right? Now, when it comes to pricing the new product, Bryan's approach to balancing quality with competitive pricing has a very practical framework to it, right? From negotiating with suppliers to finding innovative shipping solutions and every aspect of production and delivery, understanding how all of that will impact pricing and strategy and ultimately the success of your product in the market. And I loved how Bryan mentioned that he broke down all the components that went into making the product, okay, including how much time would it take his team to, create one panel? What is the labor cost that he pays for that team member to do that? How much buckram costs for a panel? How much lining costs for a panel? It's, all these things, because when he puts them all down on paper, this helps him decide what actually the product cost him, so therefore he can come up with what he should price it in order to be profitable and competitive. But if he just guesses at this stuff, that's like kind of knows, right? That's a no way. Now, the other thing that Bryan talked about was the post-launch feedback. This is outstanding. This shows Bryan's ongoing efforts to refine and improve SLA Express. His strategies for gathering the customer input, your designer input, is outstanding, right? He's got a sales rep on the road asking questions. He's asking questions. He is looking for all the ways to continuously improve the product so that he ultimately improves your satisfaction with the product, which ultimately improves the amount of times that you look to his product for a solution, right? Love it. It kind of reminds me of my feedback forms. If you've ever been to one of my events, then I pretty much don't leave you alone until you fill it out. But, otherwise, I can't go around. I'm not meeting you every day like Bryan is on the projects, right? So it's the only way for me and my team to improve, because I, too, want to keep bringing you a better experience. So think about, how are you implementing this in your own business? Even if you're just talking about delivering your design services, are you always asking for feedback from your current clients? We talk about that autopsy. We do the autopsy of a project, not just for profitability, but for how we performed. And the best way to ask, the best way to know that is to ask the people you performed the service for, right? And then finally, love Bryan's commitment to trade exclusivity. He wants to maintain the strong relationships that he already has with you, the designer community. And he has already developed loyalty and integrity with you as his design clients, and he wants to keep that. So I love that. Right? By prioritizing the needs of his core customer base, interior designers, the Sewing Loft of Avon and Bryan and Rachel have positioned SLA Express for long-term success. Bryan, I love our conversations. I truly do. I love this product that you came out with. I really do. And I think it's a big hit. Thank you so much for joining me today and sharing it with everybody. And one thing I want to tell you guys, by the way, we had this whole conversation about him measuring and him installing. But, if you're in Iowa, you can go on the website and at sewingloftofavon.com, look at the product. And if it fits your particular project, like he said, he can ship it to you. He can ship the draperies to you. He can ship the hardware to you. And then your window treatment person, wherever you are, can give you an invoice for simply installing it. right? Or maybe you're going to give it to your client and they're going to have an argument over installing it, them and their partner. That's fine too, right? We don't care about that. But the thing is, keep in mind, this is not just for local Connecticut interior designers. This is for you wherever you are in the country. I highly encourage you to go look at the program that he's developed, because having spent 4 decades in the window treatment industry, I know he's hitting right there on a pain point that many of us have faced, exactly as the way we discussed it in the conversation today. All right, so we will put the links in the show notes for Bryan's website, for their site on Instagram, all the things. Thanks tons. Thank you, Bryan. And thank you for showing up and listening today. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of LuAnn Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or LuAnn University, go to LuAnnNigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to WindowWorksNJ.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.